So for this assignment, we're going to be exploring a new tool called the Polygonal Lasso tool. So first thing we need to do is get our files open. So we're going to be working with this file and this file. So I'll get those uploaded for you guys. So once you have them, just get both of them selected and opened inside of Photopea, and that way they're going to be in two separate tabs. Now this is something we'll do a lot, so let's practice. If I want to get it, we need to select all or Command A, and then copy, Command C, and then we can paste it. Now they're both inside the same document. So we can see that by turning on and off the eyeball. And then the tool that we're going to use this time is the Polygonal Lasso tool. So let's go ahead and go up to our Lasso tool, and if you do a right click, then the one we're going to want to use this time instead is the Polygonal Lasso tool. And so you can see by the icon, it's got a slightly different shape. It's got more of like hard edges to it. So what we're going to be doing is, and let's get in here even a little bit closer. The way that it works differently, I'm going to start right in this corner, is when you click one time, so I click and release, then it stretches out in any direction, right? So it makes a straight line in between that clicked point. And so what I'm going to want to do is just start to, extend out as long as it will follow that line. The least amount of points, the better, right? If it has a curve to it, then I may have to do it in several pieces. So I'm going to go click, and then I'm going to extend, again, I'm going to extend it out from that new anchor point, maybe down into this part, and then, kind of up and around this part. So it's just going to be lots of little click, click, clicks as we go along. Right, and then eventually what I'm going to want to do is come back to where I started. And when I get back to where I start and I click on that same point, it turns into marching ants. So we're going to take our time and go all the way around that outside. I want to deselect, so I'm going to do Command D so I can start over again. But we want to go all the way around the outside. So I'm just taking my time. Obviously we're speeding it up a little bit so you don't have to watch the whole thing, but just be really careful to not take parts of the background. Better to cut a little bit to the inside and take those. You'll notice it's kind of hard to get around those wheels because, again, it's a straight line and not curved. And pay attention to detail. So like right here, there is a antenna. So let's make sure that we get that as well so that we have all elements that are part of the car. And if you have trouble finding the same location to close the selection, you can always get as close as you can and then come to the inside and double click. The next thing we need to do is add a layer mask. So in order to do that, you come down to the very bottom and click on the Add Layer Mask, and you'll notice as soon as we click that in the Layers palette, the background has been stripped away and we now have the car. And so if you want to use the Move tool, hit V, so you can move and reposition. And you can see it feels a little bit awkward, right? It doesn't quite feel like it should be there. It feels maybe a little bit like it's too big, or it's a little bit awkward when it comes into that location. So what we're going to want to do is free transform, Command Alt T. And then when we do that, we can free transform, drag this around, and start to scale it till it starts to feel a little more natural, in the environment that it is. And so maybe reposition it until it's in a spot you like, double click. We want to now duplicate the layer, so you're going to do Command J. Or you could drag it down to the new layer icon at the bottom. So if we do Command J, it gives us two layers, both with the layer mask. Now, what we're going to use is we're going to use that second layer to start to bring some of the shadow. So we're going to reveal that shadow. And this is different than it's just, so this will work a little bit different because we're going to work with the actual shadow. And we're going to manipulate that layer mask. So the first thing we're going to do is grab the brush tool and let's set up a brush. So what I'd like to do is to use that brush with a fairly large brush, and then I'm going to adjust the flow maybe to like 25%. And then you notice if we start to paint, it's painting with a light black. But we want to make sure we're on the layer mask, not on the picture. And we want white as our foreground color so it can reveal some of that shadow below. And notice when I paint now, it's then giving me this really soft edge shadow. And this is the natural shadow that was there from the actual car itself. And then as we go to paint, just, we can keep adding a little more. And then, if you need to reposition, use the hand. And then we'll kind of add a little bit here at the tailpipe as well. And you'll notice on the tail, like right behind the tail of the car, they're starting to show some of that like sidewalk. So we need to get rid of part of that. So just switch to black, hit X on the keyboard, and then paint away the area that we don't want. So it'll still have some of that shadow, just not that little edge. And then if we need to switch back to revealing more, just hit X on the keyboard, that would switch again. And then I'm going to do one last little part here on the wheels just to make sure that they're nice and solid since they were a little bit angular. So now our wheels are all set, and if we look there, now we can double check. Let's see what our shadow's doing. Look at how much that makes it feel like it's there, whereas before it looks like it's just a cutout. And it's those little details, that anchor things into their position so that it feels like they're actually there. Last thing we need to do, if that's everything for our picture, is we want to make sure to save. So go up to File, and once you click on File, choose Save as PSD. And actually, it'd probably be a really good idea to do that in the beginning and then just every once in a while update it by doing another save.